Severe weather season in the Big Country is in full swing, Dylan, and each year brings different weather situations. In the past, we've had everything from tornadoes, damaging winds, hail, and of course some flooding.
Yeah, and today we're breaking down the science behind it all, and with the help of myself and Sam, along with our entire team of meteorologists, we'll prepare you for this months ahead.
Well, we start first with one of the most dangerous types of severe weather we have here in West Texas, tornadoes. The last tornado touched down in Abilene in May of 2019. And while we didn't have sirens in the city to alert residents, many were given a heads up by the city's Code Red system.
Meteorologist Zach Gilday explains how the system works and talked to one resident who said it actually saved his life.
Inside the Emergency Operations Center in City Hall, Vincent Cantu and other emergency staff constantly monitor potential threats.
We know Abilene's no stranger to severe weather or lots of adverse events for that matter.
Monitoring is one thing, but when a threat is happening, the city uses the Code Red system to let the public know about it. An emergency alert is sent out to those subscribed to the messages. A simple process to sign up for, says Cantu.
So you can sign up for Code Red by visiting Sign Up on the city's website. You can also use our text to enroll feature, which is texting ABITAYTX to 99411.
Back during the February freeze, a Code Red alert was sent out. One was also sent ahead of the May 2019 tornado. Evidence of the May 2019 tornado can still clearly be seen, and Rick Tomlin remembers the day well.
It's just very loud, kind of a far-off sound, and you can tell it's something that I've never heard before.
Rick Tomlin lives on Hawthorne Street, an area hard hit by the tornado. He says May 18th, 2019 is a day he thinks about all the time.
We have a picture window. There was tree and debris. It was all broken out. Trees and debris all inside the house. It was pretty surreal.
While the tornado came as a surprise to most, Tomlin says he was already on guard thanks to Code Red alerts.
When I answered the phone, it said that there's a tornado in our area. I went to my bedroom where my wife was asleep, and I told her, hey, we need to get into the bathroom. Probably maybe 2 minutes after we got in there, the tornado hit.
Tomlin says the alerts were a big reason his family made it safely through the tornado. It should be a part of anyone's emergency plan.
Man, Code Red saved us, saved a lot of people.
Thank you, Zach. You can sign up for Code Red by going to AbileneText.gov.
Before severe weather strikes, it's important for you and your family to come up with a plan to stay safe.
That's right. Our meteorologist Susanna Harbert has a look at some of the safest places in your house.
Well, you may know what to do during severe weather, but do you know where you can seek shelter within the bounds of your home? Let's go ahead and take a little bit of a closer look at a normal home there. You could see a few areas where you are able to seek shelter. Now, these include the bathroom, the hall, the closet, and even the stairs. Now, included with these areas, what you want to do is avoid windows, doors, and any outside walls, because with wind speeds as fast as a tornado can carry them, anything can be a projectile. Now, you also want to cover yourself with blankets or mattresses for your protection, but remember, the safest place to be is in the basement if you do have one. If not, you can always use the stairs, again, the hall, the bathroom, and even the closet.
Storm Ready, presented by the Big Country Storm Team, continues.
Welcome back. Severe weather can strike anytime, day or night, and that's why you need to have more than one way to be notified of severe weather. A NOAA weather radio is perhaps one of the most reliable ways for you to be sure when severe weather is coming your way, and you'll know at a moment's notice. Now, I spoke recently with Bruce Jones of Midland Weather Radio Corporation about the importance of weather radios. Today by Bruce Jones with Midland Radio. You're in Kansas City, and you and I have had lots of great programs with Midland Radio to educate folks and get them on board with what I think is one of the most important life-saving tools anybody can have.
Yeah, NOAA Weather Radio has been around for 50, 60 years, and I think sometimes people assume, oh, it's old hat, it's old technology, but the fact of the matter is, Sam, a radio signal is still a very good and reliable way to get warnings out directly into people's homes.
I think so, and again, I can't count how many I've given away as presents. People that are going away to college, take this and put this in your dorm room. They'll roll your eyes at you when they get it, maybe, but they find out later it comes in handy.
You know, I gave one as a wedding present once to a coworker of mine, and he was kind of joshing me about it that same way. But you know what? About 3 years later, Sam, the guy called me. He says, "Hey, I want to thank you for that weather radio." I said, "What?" He said, "Well, you know, we have a new baby, and I was out of town, and that weather radio went off, and my wife and the baby got in the basement, and she is so thankful that we have that weather radio."
I tell people it's the cheapest insurance you can buy, and it's a lot like insurance. If you don't ever need it, it's a good deal. But when you do need it, you really need it.
That's right. That's a great analogy. It's the cheapest life insurance policy you'll ever have. And, you know, cell phones are great. We should all have apps on our cell phones and sign up for the alerts from the county emergency manager. That's great. But if something happens to the cell phone tower near you, you might not get that message. So it's important to have multiple and redundant ways of getting these warnings. And weather radio is still a very reliable way.
And I think a lot of people may get complacent and feel like my phone has my entire life on it. I don't need anything else. And certainly in the middle of the night and at all times, you need two ways. And that's something we've been talking about more recently in the last couple of years, have at least two ways to receive severe weather notifications. And this is the one I have, and I have this right by my bed at home and one in the Weather Authority Center. And some of the things about this that I enjoy, if you're not technologically literate, you can still program this radio.
Yeah, and you know, we also program them over the telephone. Folks call us and we'll walk them through it over the phone. So you're right, it's not that difficult. And once you've set it up, you forget about it. And it really runs itself from that point forward. So it's much like a smoke detector. Once it's set up, it's just constantly on, and it silently monitors this broadcast, and it'll alert you automatically when the National Weather Service needs to do so.
It's the question that's on everyone's mind as we move into this time of year. Will spring and summer be calm or active? We're back right after this.
Storm Ready, presented by the Big Country Storm Team, continues.
Welcome back. There are many factors that contribute to our weather, and we are all wondering, will this severe weather season be volatile or will it be calm? I spoke with Hector Guerrero at the National Weather Service in San Angelo to find out more. Wanted to ask you a couple of questions regarding severe weather here in the Big Country, at least severe weather season. First off, you know, it's already been a really active season for parts of the U.S. We've seen 2 high risks in March, and I think that's where we'll stop for the most part. But that's pretty unusual. I think this is one of the first times we've seen high risks anywhere in the U.S., especially in March. Is that normal, or is that something that could lead to a more dangerous season coming up?
You know, I don't know. I need to go back and look at the history books. You know, United States, we can get a high risk, you know, and I know any day of the year, especially in that part of the world, which they call, what is called Dixie Alley. But let me just tell you this: what hasn't changed is that very strong jet stream associated with La Nina. That was the same jet stream, and this year I've been calling it a wavy, intense jet. That's the same jet that brought us all the snow this past winter. It dove down over our area, you know, brought the cold air in and brought the moisture in off the Gulf, and we had all the snow. It's the same jet. It's just that, is it because it's kind of early in the season, as you said, as it moves to the east of us, the systems pick up a lot more moisture, and they become more intense, of course, as they go east. And so we have seen those 2 high risks in that part of the country. What does that mean for our area? That's the big question. Man, long-range forecast has always been difficult. It still is. We don't know. We don't know. But we all know that it just takes one strong storm system like what we saw in the southeast U.S. to ruin our day here. And I hope and pray that doesn't happen. But I think that's what this time of year is all about, is being prepared and being ready.
Well, and you mentioned La Nina already. So where about are we in that cycle? Are we kind of on the fading edge of it? Are we still right in the middle of it? And what historically have we seen with La Nina active across the U.S.?
Well, you know what's amazing is that in La Nina La Nina mainly affects the winter seasons. We were supposed to be drier and warmer this winter. Believe it or not, I look back and I think December and January, we were a little bit above normal precipitation, and actually the opposite in a sense. So what it typically means for us, La Nina means for us, is typically drier, and warmer for us. But not that way this year. It kind of behaved differently. And of course, the reason why is because there's other circulations involved in the atmosphere. There's what's called the Arctic Oscillation. That's what actually brought all that cold air down here this past winter.
Okay.
What does it mean for us going forward? You said it right. It's weakening. Our Climate Prediction Center folks, who do a great job keeping track of it, they keep telling us that it's expected to weaken by late spring.
Mm-hmm.
And so what does that mean for us? I think here in this part of Texas, we've been here long enough. Maybe they're also saying we're supposed to be continued dry, and things have dried out here quite a bit.
Yeah.
All the way through this month and maybe into April. But I'm hoping and praying that May, June, which is our typical wet season around here, that we're able to bring back some pretty good rains, because I know our farmers and ranchers are going to need it.
With so many watches, warnings, advisories, hazardous weather outlooks, it's really easy to get confused with the terminology that we use. Meteorologist Susanna Harbert explains the differences between our most commonly used alerts and why knowing the difference could save your life.
Thank you, guys. And while you know severe weather is already in store for the big country, and when it comes to severe weather, well, are you severe weather ready? Do you know the terminology? Let's go ahead and take a little bit of a closer look and break down what each of them means. During a watch, you want to be prepared because conditions are favorable for a storm to occur. Now, a warning means you want to take action because severe weather has been indicated by radar. Now, for example, a severe thunderstorm warning includes hail, winds up to 58 miles per hour, and a possible tornado. Now, emergency means take action. There is a severe threat to human life with the potential for catastrophic damage.
Breaking down the terminology even further, a watch can encompass a large number of counties, even a few states, with the watch usually lasting a few hours. On the other hand, a warning is usually set for a smaller area, less than a county most of the time, lasting anywhere from about 30 minutes to an hour. Coming up next, severe weather can strike at any time, so what should you do if you're on the road during an event? Meteorologist Clemente Morales gives us a look at some safety tips after the break.
Storm Ready, presented by the Big Country Storm Team, continues.
Welcome back. You know, the ideal place when severe weather strikes is always at a home or some sort of stable building, but it can happen anytime. It can strike when you're out on the road even.
Yeah, meteorologist Clemente Morales is actually out looking and giving us some tips as to what you should do if you're behind the wheel and dangerous weather is on the way.
If you're out on the open roads or highways and driving and get caught in a storm, one of the obvious questions you should ask yourself is, should I outrun it or seek shelter?
We don't want people speeding, breaking the speed limit. Obviously, when it's raining or if it was hailing, that driving conditions change, and so we'd actually recommend that you drive at a slower pace.
Often in situations with severe weather, we may seem to lose logical power of reason and replace it with adrenaline and instincts on what we think we should do, and then our thinking becomes impaired, and unfortunately that's where bad decisions could cost us our life.
People in a situation like that seem to panic, and so they won't be thinking clearly and stop and realize which direction they're going. They might think that they're headed in one way or down a street that they're familiar with, and in fact they're just confused or mixed up because of the stress level of the conditions.
It may be more tempting to maybe think we could outrun a tornado or funnel cloud, thinking maybe we have the advantage. But keep in mind, a tornado's path is unpredictable. It can switch directions at random also. We could find ourselves driving away from a tornado when it suddenly could change path. Even in the least powerful F1 class tornadoes, we can have winds up to 300 miles per hour. Also keep in mind that the faster you drive, the easier it becomes for a tornado to lift or move your car. If you're driving in a tornadic storm and find buildings around you, such as on the interstate, with truck stops or businesses, enter one of these. Go into the lowest level and stay away from the windows.
Yeah, the best thing is to pull off of the interstate get into some type of shelter, whether it be a gas station, a building. If places are open, people are going to let you in to seek shelter.
What if there are no buildings where we are, and we are in the face of danger? Well, if no such shelter is available, what do we do then? Try to avoid places with trees or objects that might be picked up by a tornado, and those could be used as projectiles. Instead, find the lowest point on the ground, lie down, cover your head with your hands, and await the outcome of the storm.
For some motorists, the desirable choice of safety might be a bridge or overpass such as this one, but structures like this may not be the safest to look for.
When somebody does something, others will follow, and so basically you'll be setting the precedent or the example, and people will start pulling behind you. And as it gets crowded underneath there, and the rain or hail's coming down, and they're not completely off the roadway, that's a hazard.
While bridges like this may seem like a logical choice, it's a deadly mistake because these structures have no walls and they do not protect you from a tornado's winds. Bridges like this that cars drive over can be equally dangerous. These act as a channel that increase a tornado's wind, making it a more dangerous place to be.
These tips we offer you are designed to increase your chances of survival in a catastrophe. But obviously the best course of action for you to take is to not drive in these conditions. If you find yourself in a dangerous or life-threatening situation, please drive safe and follow as many safety precautions as you can. Guys, back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Clemente. And you know in Abilene, when it rains, it pours. And because of our city's drainage system, a lot of weather can cause the streets to flood.
Meteorologist Pete Beretta gives us some tips on what areas are safe and which areas to avoid.
Well, hi everybody. We're here to talk about severe weather and specifically flooding situations. And we're in one of the worst spots in Abilene, which is the underpasses downtown. Standing behind me are a group of Abilene firefighters that are always doing water rescues. And it's usually for two different reasons, folks. The first is that water can be very deceiving, both the depth and the speed. It only takes 11 inches of water to lessen the weight of a low-sitting car 1,500 pounds. So a lot of cars sit down low. That makes them float away because the speed of the water underneath is very deceiving. The second reason is people driving around barriers. Folks, if you see the city barriers up, especially on these underpasses, give these guys a break. As a retired Abilene firefighter, I can tell you, we've worked under these before. So please, during severe weather season, when we're having flooding, please turn around, don't drown.
Thanks, Pete. Storm Ready continues with more after the break.
Storm Ready, presented by the Big Country Storm Team, continues.
West Texas is known, of course, for its wind. Sometimes it's just a light breeze, but other times it brings some damaging speeds with it.
And not even just in tornadoes. Our meteorologist Susanna Harbert explains how wind forms and what causes the big bursts that set up our severe weather patterns.
Well, that's right, guys. We can't really talk about severe weather without mentioning the jet stream. And you at home might be wondering, well, what is the jet stream? The jet stream is a stream of strong winds in the upper atmosphere. Think of it as an air superhighway, which always moves from west to east. But in order to talk about the jet stream, we actually have to go up to the sky. And just how high are we talking? Well, that layer is called the troposphere, which is about 5 to 7 miles above the Earth's surface. This is generally where planes like to fly. Again, those high winds, fast-moving winds, allow them to get from one place to the other very quickly. Now, we do have two types of jet streams that we associate here in the United States. That's the polar jet and also the subtropical jet. Now, most of you saw that Arctic freeze we had in February. Well, that was the cause to the polar front dipping down to the south. So let's get a little bit of a closer look at what really happens within these jet streams. All that cold Arctic air is kept up to the north, and that warm, humid air is kept to the south of that subtropical jet. Now, along these systems is where we can find our weather patterns. That is our high and our area areas of low pressure. Now, our low pressure is usually indicated by a trough that's cooler, more dense air. Now, an area of high pressure or a high dome is associated with a ridge with warmer and less dense air. Now, sometimes along the jet stream, we have a warm front and a cold front. Now, these sometimes move along our jet streams, and they can also be detached from the jet stream if we see it weaken just a bit.
And whether it's rain or shine or thunder and hail, you can trust us to be right here with you before and after the storm.
That's right. Here are the ways you can get your alerts from us. Anytime there's a watch or a warning, you will see a crawl on your screen.
And if the storms get severe, we will cut in on air. We will always be mindful of what you're watching, but safety is paramount.
That's for sure. And of course, you can download the BCH2Go mobile app or go to our website for the very latest anytime, and along with our live streaming on social media.
Well, that does it here for us on Storm Ready. Remember, severe weather season in the Big Country lasts from about March to June, so it's always important to stay weather aware.
Thank you so much for trusting us with your weather.